Hi guys, so unlike my usual, today I'm not doing any Star Wars products. Today I'm actually going to be teaching you how to play Dice Forge. So let's take a look. So the first thing I want to show you is just how amazing the insert is in this game. Once we pull out our top level stuff, we have two partial game boards, but we've got one of the most amazing inserts I've ever seen that just holds everything perfect. And this is actually one of the best inserts I've ever seen in a board game, and I think it's just fantastic. Now, this is a dice forging game, and what that means is you're going to be taking these dice, rolling them, and through the course of the game, you're going to be buying new tiles that can go in and out of your die. So just like so, they come off. They are a little tricky to get off when the game is new, so I would suggest a toothpick or maybe a guitar pick or something like that to help in pulling them out, because if you play this enough, your fingers may start to get a little bit sore, at least until the dice kind of get broken in. Another part I want to show you here before we set up the game board is this sleeve here. This sleeve actually holds all the extra tiles that are going to go on our dice, and these are all tiles right here. Now, when you first buy the game, you're going to have to put them all in here, and it can take a little while to get it set up, but this will go at the end of the board, and the diagram actually has it going at an angle, but I'm going to put it this way, so this way we can actually see the whole game board and go from there. Now that the board is set up, there are cards that go into every slot all the way around the board, and each one of these slots has a little area right here where you can put your person. The game plays up to 4 people, but you do need at least 2. And there are different rules for different numbers of players, but it plays optimally with 4 people. One of the things you're going to do when you're starting out the game is you're going to get your player board, and you're going to get matching cubes. And in my case, I'm always the green player, so I've taken the green cubes and the green, it's not really a meeple, but the green player token. And you're going to put them in your board to mark all of the zeros. And you're tracking 4 different types of stats in this game. You're tracking gold, so as you gain gold, you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's cumulative. So if I gain 2 gold this turn and I gain 2 gold next turn, I'll be at 4 gold. You don't lose your stats at the end of each turn. You're also tracking sun shards and lunar shards, right? Or like fire or day and night, right? That's kind of the 2 themes here. And then you're tracking victory points down here. Now, the sun shards and the lunar shards cap at 6. You can only get 6 of those each. And then the victory points, this uses kind of an abacus style. Once you get down to 9, you can then move this up to 10, and then start back over, and then 11, and so on and so forth. If you get over 100 victory points, there are 100-point markers in the box, and we'll set one down right there. At the beginning of the game, each player are going to get 2 different dice. Now, I don't know if you can tell because they look very, very similar to me, but the die on the right is slightly darker than the die on the left. So there are 2. There's a dark die and a light die. And the difference between these 2 in their starting configurations, they each have 1 gold on just about every side. But your darker die has 2 special sides. It has one side that has a lunar shard on it, and one side that has 2 victory points. Whereas your lighter die is gold on every side and has 1 shard that has a fire shard on it on one side. Now, the fire shards are slightly more valuable than the lunar shards because of a special effect where you can effectively pay 2 fire shards to take a second action on your turn. And the way the turns work is like so. The game is only 9 turns long, or 10 turns if you're playing with exactly 3 players. And what will happen is at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of each turn, all players will roll their dice and immediately apply whatever the symbols are rolled. So in my case, I just rolled 2 1 golds. Also at the beginning of the game, each player will get gold depending on what player number they are. So you'll start with maybe around 2 gold if you're kind of in the middle of the play order. So I would start with about 4 gold. When it comes to my turn, the first thing I would do is I would apply any card effects that I have. Now, I don't have any cards right now, so I could go ahead and move anywhere where where I can pay the resource cost. Different places that I can move are on these little symbols here. Now these if I put my meeple right here on this symbol, I can potentially buy one of these 2 cards. They each cost 1 fire shard each. I don't have any fire shards, but I could go on the other side of the board. The top side of the board here is all the lunar shards, and the bottom side is all the fire shards. Although in the very, very end are a combination of both lunar and fire, or sun and moon. So you kind of want both resources, but there's different things on different ones. There are also spaces over here where I can place my character token, and these cost gold. So 2 gold, 3 gold, 4 gold, 5 gold, so on and so forth. And then when I place a character here, I can select anything in its compartment area. So for 2 gold, I can put my person there, and now I can either add a lunar shard or a side of 3 gold to my die. And I can choose to any, because I have 2 dice, so I can choose this wherever I want. I can pick one die that maybe I'd want to take this die that has the 2 symbols already and maybe make this a better die. So I'll pop out the 1 and then I'll toss the 3 gold in there like so. All right. And there you go. Now the game runs until the last turn, either turn 9 or turn 10, depending on how many players. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most victory points will win. So victory point sides are also pretty good, but they're a little bit more expensive. So you don't even start to get victory points unless you spend 4 gold or higher. And there are also some special die sides down here that you cannot get with gold. These are only gained from special cards, and we'll look at some of those shortly. So in a sample 3-player game that I have set up here, I'm the green player, and my character is right here. Now, the blue player is here, and the orange player is here. Now, if I wanted to take one of these cards, now there's 4 cards of every type inside one of these, each of these spaces. They're all the same card, and some of them are special, and I'll talk about those. But if I wanted to take one of them, I'd have to move my person there, and that bumps the other player back to the starting area, and they go on their color. Now, there's certain symbols you'll learn in the game. Whenever somebody goes back to the starting area, they get what's called a divine blessing. And what that means is they roll both of their dice, and they get the symbols. So the more you've upgraded your dice, the more you're going to get each turn when you roll your dice, and then every time somebody else makes you roll your dice. And there's also some cards that let you roll your dice. Every time you roll your dice, you get those resources. And that's good. And you can put anything from shards to gold or to even victory points on your dice. And they're all very good. So I'm going to talk about some of the different cards, and there are different sets of cards too. There's the starter cards, and there are also some more advanced cards that come in the game that you can change some of them out and try a more advanced game. But the starter cards are best for learning the game. So right here at the first stop for the lunar shards are 2 special cards, and the Anvil's Hammer here, the Blacksmith's Hammer. What this does is that, first off, we're going to look at the symbol that are on these cards. This one is a tornado. And this basically means it's an instant effect. Whenever you buy the card, it does what it says right away, and that's it. Also, most cards have victory points on them. So once you buy victory points, they're going to stay with you for the rest of the game. This one is a unique one that has 0 victory points. Or not unique, but most have 0 victory points. This is rare. But this one is a special ability that it's going to flip over, and it's going to go onto your player board. And where this will attach to your player board is directly above your gold track here. And you'll get a special little hammer marker, and every time you gain gold, you can opt to, instead of gaining gold, advance your little hammer across this maze. This is almost a mini game. And if you make it all the way to the end, you'll get 10 victory points right away, and then you flip the token over. If you can make it through a second time in the same game, you'll get 15 more victory points. So it's a great way to add up a whole bunch of victory points. And that's it. And there's only 4 of these, but you would get no benefit from buying a second one. Now, right here we have the stash. One of the things that this does that's very cool is it gives you a stash that you can extend onto your player board. So it clips in just right here, and now your limits are increased. So now instead of capping out at 6 fire shards, you can have up to 9. Same thing goes for gold and your lunar shards. So I want to talk about the deer here. This is a special one because this has the reinforcements symbol. Now, this is an important symbol because this is kind of how you build your engine in this game. Before you take your action as the active player, when it's your turn, one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to trigger all of your abilities on your cards that have this symbol. And that's really good because in this particular case, he lets you re-roll one of your dice. And you can pick which die you re-roll, and you get its bonus. And so that's great. And you're going to get basically an extra die every turn. And you can pick your most powerful die too. Or depending on the situation, maybe you've configured one die to have a lot of fire shards and one die to have a lot of lunar shards. And maybe you're going to set them up that way. And oh, well, right now I really want fire shards, so I'll go ahead and re-roll that die, and hopefully I get some fire shards. And this will happen every turn. So getting these early is really good because there's only so many turns in the game. And there's and they all do something similar. Here's one that is kind of complicated, but in all of these symbols, while they may not be that clear, there is basically a rules reference that's going to show every single card in the game and explain verbatim what they do. But this basically makes everybody else re-roll all their dice, but not getting the resources for them. Then you get to look at all their dice and pick the 2 that you like the best, and you get to gain the resources from them. So those are pretty cool. Then you have cards like this one, and it costs 4. And this is referenced both on the card and on the game board. But this one costs 4, and it does nothing, but it's worth 12 victory points. So that one's pretty cool. And you're going to go all the way down, like your very last one is 26 victory points, so that one's pretty cool. This one that costs 6 lunar shards is pretty expensive. He's worth 8 victory points, and he's got a 2 symbol of divine blessing. It shows 2 dice, and you're going to re-roll both your dice, get both of their effects, then you're going to do that twice in a row. So a little big bonus to that. Coming over to the fire side here a little bit, our first one here for only 1 fire shard is an engine that it goes every turn you can do this. You can pay 3 gold to get 4 victory points. So that's pretty cool. And that's directly counter to the little gold mini game, because if you want your gold to advance that, then you won't want to spend it on this. And then here is a great starting one. This one is worth 2 victory points, and this is a one-time use that just gives you 3 gold and 3 lunar shards, and they all kind of have a similar sensation. They all do different things, but this one, every turn there's a reinforcement symbol, so you get to do this every turn, and you get to pick. The question mark there means you get to pick one. You can either get a gold, a sun shard, or a lunar shard. So very cool. I know I'm transposing sun shards and fire shards because they look like fire, so I'm calling the sun shards the fire shards, but I think you can tell the difference. But so every card has something different that they do. There are some different. This one gives you one of the special die, and this one's a mystery die. And this is a face that will go on one of your dice, and if you roll it, you get to pick anybody else's face-up symbol and apply that in your choice. So it'll always be something different. And if you like a little bit of random play, maybe you'll like something like that. You also have one that's a ×3 symbol that you can get from this guy, and that's one of the special dice as well. And that one gives you a ×3 multiplier to your other die. So whenever you roll this die, whatever's on the other die, you get that ×3. And so there's all kinds of different combinations of things that you can get, and it's very, very cool. And it's a very fun way to go. Now, part of the strategy in this is getting die faces early on, but cards have so many victory points. When you're in the last turn, you may not want to buy any more die faces because you may not roll what you need to roll. So my general strategy in playing has been to try to get die faces early on and then get cards in the latter half of the game. It's great to be first player. There's also a first player token that will pass from person to person because as first player, you get your first choice of where you want to go. And hopefully if something is in demand, like, oh, people are getting a lot more resources now, let me go down here, and hopefully somebody will bump you and send you back. Generally, you want to get bumped. You want to take the spot that's in demand, so this way you can come back and get free resources from your dice. And that is kind of the strategy of it. And then each turn we will advance. This little panda symbol here goes on the number. There's a round counter around here. And it reminds you that if you're on turn 9, the game ends if you have 2 or 4 players. If you're on turn 10, the game ends if you're a 3-player game. And then once this goes to the last turn, everybody will finish what they're doing, and then you'll compare your victory points, and you'll add your cards to your victory points. If you go over 100, you'll grab one of the plus 100 things, and you'll go from there. We'll add it up, and that's how you determine the winner. So my overall impressions of Dice Forge are pretty positive. I think it's a really fun game. It's very clever, and there are multiple paths to go. Like most games that have engine building, I think it kind of fits into that category. It'll scratch that itch for you. But it's the first dice builder that I've ever seen. The only complaint I have is that pulling those tokens out, it can kind of hurt your fingers. But a simple toothpick or something handy is going to save you all of that heartache. It plays pretty quickly. A game can be done in about a half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on if you have slow players or fast players. Some people will really want to strategize and take a long time. Personally, I'm a fast player, so I just think when everybody else is taking their turn, I like to think about what I'm going to do next, and then as soon as it's my turn, I will go. And so if people are playing fast like that, you could probably finish a game in even less than a half an hour if you don't have to teach it if everybody's played before. So it plays very quick. It's not that hard. It's not that complicated. So you can play with some fairly young children. It's age 10 and up. So you can potentially play with the younger children. My oldest is 7 right now, and he might be able to play it, but my my other ones would want to play too. So I'm not going to play this with the family just yet, but probably in another year or two I'd probably be there. But I think it's a pretty fun game. First time kind of dice drafter I've ever seen, and it is kind of fun to build your die and to kind of get it the way you want it. I've been playing where I just focus on one die. And putting all the sides on the one side, and then anytime I can reroll only a single die, I go for that one. And I kind of get the best payout that way, and try to get cards in the late game. But it's a very fun game. The setup and teardown take a little while, but if everybody at the table helps you and they put their cards back where you got them, it really helps to have all the cards stacked, and it makes setup much easier. The hardest part of setting up and tearing down is the tray that has all the die faces. You have to be careful with that, because if you shake or if somebody bumps you while you're doing that and they fall down, you've got a nightmare of like basically Lego type material on the floor. So be very careful with the dice tray if you get it. But all in all, great insert. Really, really some of the best components I've seen for a board game in a long time. And I like it a lot. So Dice Forge, it should be coming out soon. If you want to play this, if you're going to Dice Tower Con here in Orlando, I will be there teaching this from July 5th for the next 5 days, through the weekend. I think the 5th through the 9th or the 10th, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, the 5th through the 9th of July. I will be teaching this in the Asmodee room, so if you want to come play a game with me, come by if you're going to be there. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you haven't already, please subscribe and click the little bell for alerts so you can be informed when I'm giving away new stuff. I'm actually giving away a Ray Speeder Funko Pop to when I hit 8,000 subscribers. So all you need to do to enter is to be a subscriber and leave a comment on one of my videos, and that will be happening here hopefully pretty soon. Thank you guys so much for watching again. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and have a wonderful day.